We are moving on to the topic, which is the leadership dilemma. Why is it so hard for us to sit? Why is it so hard for us to find successors? We have had several organizations across industry sectors, whether it is corporate, sports, or entertainment, really struggle with ensuring a seamless and a lasting leadership that is not personality dependent. And is there a way that we can resolve this leadership dilemma facing us? And to help us with this dilemma, we have Raj Naik. If I could request Raj to please come up. He's the COO, Viacom 18. And we're really delighted that he has made time to share his views with us on the leadership dilemma. Raj used to be the CEO of the Hindi entertainment group of Viacom. That includes Colors, Rishte, and Rishte Cineplex. He's one of those rare leaders who possess sharp business acumen coupled with a nuanced understanding of what makes brands iconic. And he's been with earlier with Star TV and NDTV and has been described as the Superman of TV ad sales. So conversing with him is Madhavan. So Madhavan, please take it away.
Thanks, Raj. Glad to have you with us. I won't waste too much time because we have a precious man in our midst and the time is short and we've had some time cascading issues. But let me go to the origin of the idea. Or before that, a disclosure. He's with Viacom 18, but the truth is that Viacom 18 supporting Knowledge Factory has absolutely nothing to do with it. We have more than a Chinese wall, and we were just, talking about the topics only, but suddenly Abhijit Bhaduri, who was supposed to speak, fell ill, and somebody in the team suggested Raj, and I said, this is the person I should have thought of right away. In Hindi they say, Chirag Tale Andhera. I'm in touch with him almost every day on Twitter, thanks to the fact that we are both social in our nature. But, so this was a wonderful thing. And I suddenly realized that this is the right man, and I'll explain why in a while. But the idea was born of why, to me, when Anil Kumble seemed to have dressing room problems with Virat Kohli. I said, here is a respected leader, a coach of Indian cricket, and here is a real superstar player, and yet there is some friction that comes from the media. So the dream was to have Anil Kumble. But obviously he wouldn't come and speak at Knowledge Factory about all the dressing room details. It's only a journalistic fantasy. So we decided to make it real, and I said, let me explore the topic in a more interesting way so that look at people who are actually in leadership today and explore the idea. So the whole idea is that Raj, you and I roughly grew up in an age when bosses were bosses.
They are still bosses.
Yeah, good. See, that's Raj for you. They are still bosses, but something has changed in the style from the way you dress. I was wearing a jacket. I took it off because Raj came dressed in the casuals. So, he says he goes to board meetings in this. It was unthinkable about a few years or the other thing is that we have, on the one hand, very creative, hardworking people. On the other hand, very temperamental people entering the workforce. But we are accountable to shareholders, employees, customers, and all. So the question is, how does one walk the tightrope? This is the broad context of how leadership styles have changed, and how do you deal with leadership in a world where there is the old-fashioned hierarchies don't seem to exist as much as they used to. So this is the broad context, Raj.
Sure.
So let me begin by asking a broad question. Is authority an outmoded word, as our topic suggests? Or
is authority
an outmoded word, in the sense of bossgiri, as one might call it?
No, authority is there because, you have to have authority, because with authority comes accountability, so it goes hand in hand. Having said that, I think, people misconstrue leadership for titles. People say that if he's a CEO or if he's a CEO designation, then people assume that he's a leader. I see that there is leader everywhere. Leader doesn't come with designations. Leadership doesn't come with titles. Leadership doesn't even necessarily come with experience.
I just wanted to tweet that, KF hashtag 2018. He's
Okay.
already saying stuff that's so interesting.
Because I think, you just walk around among your friends, you will find there is one person you get attracted to, and there's one person who makes decisions which others follow. They have not designated him a leader, but by default, he is the leader. So I think leadership is there, and some people have it in them. They have the ability of leading, and some people don't. And I don't think leadership can be taught. I don't think leadership, there used to be this whole debate at one time. Are you born leader or can it be taught? I think qualities of a leader you can teach. But end of the day, I think leadership it comes, I think most of it comes from a person's personality. This is my belief. This is my personal belief. I have not been to any Harvard or Wharton or something, so this is my belief. The way I look at leadership is, I think first and foremost, a leader has to have integrity. Any leader who has no integrity, I wouldn't call him a leader. Okay, that's first and foremost thing. And with integrity, I think, comes trust. And people should trust you. If they don't trust you, you cannot be a leader, And I think that's where the people begin to trust you, they begin to follow you, and they begin to, then there will be a time when your team or people will be willing to give their life for you. So that to me is leadership.
But what do you do when there is, on the one hand, need for teamwork, on the other hand, there is individual rivalry, or even temperamental differences?
There is, and I think that's where the role of the leader comes. He plays the catalyst role. First of all, a leader should be able to be first among equals. A leader should first say, I have to be first among equals. If you say, I'm going to sit in the corner office, keep my door locked, pick up the intercom, call people, or tell your secretary, fix an appointment with somebody, I think then you're building barriers.
Okay.
You're building barriers. You should be first among equals. The moment you're first among equals, the wall is gone. And once the wall is gone, people feel you're approachable. They can talk to you. Then they have the courage to come and talk to you. And once they begin to trust you, then they feel that even if I tell him something, he's not going to judge me. A. Two, he may act on it, may not act on it, but at least I've parked my problem with him.
Interesting.
In most organizations, what happens is, and I say this very often, you're only as good as the boss you have, and you're only as good as the team that you have.
That's so wonderfully put.
Okay? Because you could be the best guy in the world, but if you have a horrible boss, he can ruin your career, he can make your life miserable, everything. That's
Now,
the truth.
this is my question to you. In your organization, the boss's boss's boss at some level.
Yeah, of course.
And
in every organization.
So sometimes you have to really, there is an invisible pyramid out there.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there is a need to retain talent, especially young talent.
Yeah.
How do you solve this problem, in terms of making sure that the people who are bosses are also playing the right boss in your mind?
Yeah, I think it's a question of, you have to work both ways. You have to work upwards, you have to work downwards. And my philosophy is, if you don't trust your boss, you should quit your job.
Okay.
If you don't trust your subordinate, you shouldn't keep him in the job. Okay? Because if the trust factor is not there, it ain't going to work. You may delay the problem, you may leave it for some time, it ain't going to work. And the best thing to address trust is to confront the person, whoever it is. It could be a senior, it could be a junior. Confront it, have a straight chat, pick up the phone and say, listen, boss, let's go out for a glass of beer. I want to have a chat with you. I don't want to do it in the office. I want to do it over a beer in a hotel, and have a frank chat with him.
So confrontation is a very important
extension
extension of integrity in that sense.
Of course, you confront and address it, because sometimes what happens is somebody would have fed some, kaan ka kacha, they say. So people would have fed something, and somebody has formed an opinion of you without actually having met you, or formed an opinion of you without even having discussed the problem with you.
Okay.
But I think once you confront and once you address, I think you can set the rules, and then you know whether it's going to work or not going to work.
Okay, so there is an underlying rationality behind the whole thing, while you're being informal and cordial.
It is important.
Hard as nuts behind this.
You have to.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting, because given that otherwise the styles have become very informal, So it's not that you may be on first name terms with everybody, but
see, end of the day, everybody is doing a job.
That's true.
Okay, and I believe that success doesn't have to come at the cost of the other.
Okay.
Okay, we can all grow together. I can give you a very good example. Years ago, when I was with ESPN Star Sports, I had a boss called Vip Sharma. Okay, and he was imposed on me from London, and I was running the North and East for Star TV in India, and here was and I was doing very well. So I was like the star within star to that sense. And there was a person coming from the UK as my boss who had never worked in India, who knew nothing about this market and everything. And I was like,
I've been there.
I was really upset. And I was young, and as a youngster, you react. So my instinct reaction was, forget it, they don't value me, and I almost put in my papers. And my boss that time called me and said, listen, you haven't met him. You meet him, and then you decide. So we were supposed to go on a conference to Singapore. So we were all supposed to come to Mumbai and fly together from Mumbai. And so this gentleman, Vip Sharma, wanted to meet me. And I was avoiding him. I said, we'll meet in the plane, we'll talk in the plane. And once we got into the plane, I went to sleep because I was avoiding him. Okay? Because in my mind, I didn't want to meet him, I didn't want to confront, I didn't want to do anything. In Singapore, 2 days into the conference, I kept avoiding him wherever possible. At one fine moment, he caught me in the corridor, caught me actually physically, pushed me onto a sofa and said, why are you running away from me? And I'm like, and he was big, he was a rugby player, big in size. So I was like sitting there all scared because physically he could harm me, right? So I was really scared. So he said, why are you running away from me? I said, no, I'm not running away from you. He said, come. And the conference is going on. So I said, the conference is starting. And he said, don't worry, come. So we went to the bar, we had a drink. And he told me something so interesting. He said, Raj, I want to tell you something. I said, tell me. He said, for 6 months, I was without a job. Or whatever, I don't remember. And the truth is, I got this job, and I took it. What's my fault in it?
Okay.
Why you
Seeing it personally?
Holding it against me because I didn't know I wanted a job, I got a job. But let me tell you something. I know what you're doing a great job, so let's do a deal today.
Okay.
You run the business the way you're running, you do everything, you manage your team, you manage them, okay, and I'll manage upwards. You push me up, I pull you up. That was it. We had the best relationship ever.
I wish Anil Kumble and Virat Kohli had used this style.
No, but that's true.
It doesn't look like it.
So I think when you speak, because otherwise I was judging him and he was judging me.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't judge me, to be fair to him, I was judging him.
One point that occurs to me from this is that you're now dealing with very creative people, whether it's television or now I'll reserve a question on Padmavat later. Okay, but the thing is that creative people are temperamental at the same time high performers.
Yeah.
And to make them work, is there some, and creativity is increasingly becoming the driver of businesses.
Again, these are all myths, okay? Creative people are temperamental, journalists are temperamental, but the thing is, they're all human beings end of the day. So every human being has an inherent good and bad quality.
Bad also?
Of course,
Okay.
even I have bad quality. If you wait long enough, you may find some bad quality in me. And if you wait long enough, you may find some good quality in a person whom you thought never had a good quality.
That's what you call disarming modesty.
Okay. No, so the truth is, I think human behavior and human relationship, end of the day, comes to dignity, respect, and how you treat the other person.
So you have to be a good human being before you're a good leader.
100%.
In that sense.
100%.
So does it mean that you don't have to turn the heat on people to perform? Or?
Not necessary at all. I think I come from a school of thought where you need to motivate people. And a lot of people, and I'll give you this example, a lot of people, I believe people, if they are happy in what they're doing, then everything becomes secondary. If they're not happy what they're doing, then they will find an excuse to leave. Salary will become an issue. They'll say, oh, I'm getting 30% extra there. That all comes as a, it becomes an excuse they find to justify to themselves why they are leaving designation or salary. But if they are happy and if they are motivated to wake up in the morning and have the adrenaline rush in their stomach to come to work, I think that's what.
Raj, I have a question on that. I want to slightly pin you down on that because we are living in an India where, the motivations seem to differ and have changed a lot.
Yeah.
See, there was a time when it was all about getting a home loan and an EMI or a good increment every year or getting a nice title.
No, at our time, we didn't even have EMI. Our salaries also didn't come on time.
Yeah, we know that. See, he's really come up the hard way, and I respect. Star TV to, Colors via NDTV, he's grown the media industry. But growing up, working in the 80s or 90s would mean that you worked for boutiques in which.
No, I worked for companies who paid me 3 months later.
See, that's interesting.
So we went through that as
well. That's very important to remember. But
of course.
That apart, but the point is that increasingly for millennials, motivation doesn't seem to be the stuff, it's not close to survival as it was for some of us.
See, again, I think this is a loosely used term that we say that we brush everybody with the same, or we paint everybody with the same brush. I think today what has happened is, and we've seen our own lives, right? I think the last 15, 20 years, everything has changed. When I used to earn a salary of 3,600 rupees, but a house with a small company paid accommodation and telephone bill, and that was my salary. And when I joined Star TV, it just multiplied 10 times, right? I remember, actually, me and my wife stood on the bed and did a jig. We thought we became millionaires. So that was it. But what has happened is the way things have evolved and grown. I never bought a car till I was, I'm trying to remember how old I am. Almost 35, 30, 35. And that too because I was one of those lucky people who got a job in a multinational at the right time, was at the right place. But otherwise, the dream that I had, I wanted to own a Maruti car, never ever dreamt of owning a house. But you were happy that time. And you were very happy because that was your vision, that was what you were able to see. But today what has happened because of exposure, because of everything, I know people, they get an appointment letter, next morning they go and book a car.
Exactly, that's where the...
Yeah, but what happens is initially, and they all, let me tell you one thing about the millennials or the next gen or whatever you call them, they are 100 times far more intelligent, have far more exposure, confidence. I never had the confidence.
Exactly.
Of course, I never had the confidence. It's come over a period of time. I think success also brings you confidence. But the thing is, but I see my children, I've got 2 daughters. One is 19 and one is 25. And I see them, I see their confidence level, their exposure. I think with the youngsters also, initially there will be exceptions, their EMIs, their materialistic things, they have gone and committed themselves, so they need to meet that, so they may change jobs. But that percentage is very small actually, if you look at it. I believe end of the day, and I say it irrespective, it's a new generation or the old generation, people work for 3 things. First, everybody works for respect. Okay, I can pay you $1 million, and if I abuse you day in and day out, trust me, you will not stay in the job.
That's very important.
People work for respect. Second, they work for recognition. Deep inside, all of us want recognition. We want that 1 minute of saying, hey,
absolutely,
great, you're wearing a nice suit. Whatever it is, recognition, you need that. Rini, you're looking beautiful, I love you in your sari. But that's what it is. Everybody needs recognition in some way or the other. Okay? Then comes reward. So in that order.
Absolutely.
So I think, and even the new generation that work, and we have a lot of people, the youngsters, lots of youngsters we hire, and they are same thing. You have to make them feel empowered. You have to make them feel important. You have to make them feel that they are part of the decision-making process. The moment you give them that feeling, they're with you for life.
What if there are occasions where you have to give them the bad news of not having a good hike or maybe even fire people? Isn't that a bit of a dilemma for you? In the middle of all this recognition?
See, I've had a very different philosophy. At least touch wood, so far I haven't been in that situation where I had to go firing people. Okay, but there have been instances when there have been. First of all, when people are being hired, I blame the manager who's hired the person, because if you hire a person, you should know the person is good or not in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year.
Okay.
People come to me after 5 years, the person has been in the organization, and then tell me he's not good. I say, but what were you doing for 5 years? You should be sacked for it. Right? I mean, what are you doing for 5 years?
Very perceptive, yeah.
Because it's not fair to the person, because you've led him up the garden path. You can say, I don't think he's suited for the next role. That's fine. That's understandable. But you can't say he's not good in his existing job when he's been doing it for 5 years. You understand? I lost my chain of thought.
It's about giving the bad news of firing.
Yeah, firing. So I've had situations in my job at Star and many places where I had to, somebody was not, whatever it is. I mean, the boss would come and say, this person is not working out. Now I have a choice to choose between the two, and then what I would do is I would change the person and put them, because sometimes, like I said, the same person with a different boss or a different environment will excel. Same person, okay? So I said, okay, you move to this division or you move here. And if I find that after 2-3 movements, still things are not working, I've handled it slightly differently. I've called the person and said, listen, when the company is paying thousands of crores, your one salary is not going to make a little difference to the organization. But I'm telling you, you have no future here, okay? So find a job and leave when you find a job. Come and show me an appointment letter paying you 1 rupee more. Then at least I also know how valuable you are.
Oh, that's wonderful. You're actually leaving the room open. Yeah.
So the person comes, the moment the person gets an appointment letter, the person won't stay back.
That's called having the cake and eating it
No,
too.
because let me tell you, because sometimes you can't blame people. It's, I believe everybody, like I said, everybody can't be so horribly bad. There's something good and something bad, right? You've not been able to extract the best out of that person. And so you need to make sure that people who leave you, because end of the day, they are going to be your brand ambassadors. Everybody who leaves your organization is going to be a brand ambassador. And sometimes I've seen people have left us, gone somewhere, and few years later, that's the person we've been wanting to hire. So yeah, it happens.
So keep the options open.
Of course.
And fingers crossed.
Of course.
Let me turn the question a little, tempted by your own talk, when you said, the Britishers said, I'll manage upwards and you can manage downwards. I have noticed that leadership is increasingly also about managing outwards. And your own example, as higher you go, it's even more so, partners and, shareholders.
I think, this manage again is a thing. I firmly believe that you're dealing with different stakeholders, right? You're dealing with your shareholders, board, your boss, your subordinates, your peers, your colleagues. End of the day, you're doing a job. As long as you're doing it sincerely, you're doing it honestly, you're doing it with integrity, you don't need to manage anything. Things will get managed by itself.
That means, I'm tempted to ask you because you sound so cool about it.
But that's the
And
truth.
here is the man who's probably managed the biggest crisis of January.
No, I haven't.
Seriously, street protests, you have a government which is sensitive, and you have hundreds of crores on the line, and creative people. Honestly, Raj, did you lose sleep when you did
Luckily,
Padmavat?
it was not me, my colleague who handled it. But
you were there in the loop. Yeah?
But that's the nature of the beast. Any business you get into, there will be some problem or the other, and you try and manage it to the best that you can.
Okay, but it's not as if you really have to be stressed about this, or is there any stress secret there?
If you see my Twitter handle, it's Raj Cheerful.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gave it to you, by the way.
Yes.
There is a secret there. We
Okay.
met long ago when I had an email ID which had a cheerful in it. He liked it, so he took it.
Okay, so the thing is, what is not in your control is not in your control. So there's no point stressing about it.
That's the basic rule remains.
Simple, you can't change it. If you can change, act on it, change it. But if it's going to rain heavily, thunderstorm, and you have this conference, people can't reach you, what can you do about it? There's nothing, no point stressing. Now people won't come, what to do?
Yeah, thanks. I think that is a wonderful way to sort of end the conversation at a structured level. We have time for just maybe one or two questions. Is there anybody who has a question for Raj? The most cool CEO you'll meet in recent years here. Anybody has any question on any boss problem that you want to talk to him about? Yes.
Several CEOs in the audience here.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, we don't have
I'm
time for
Ruchi Jolly. I work with Needy Consulting. My question is around, I got stuck when you said confront your boss if you don't trust him, and I just went in my mind.
When you say confront, you don't go and say, hey, you don't trust me.
Of
No,
course.
you sit with him and you say, is
Yeah,
there something
talk it
that's
out.
missing
Yeah.
that I don't know or I'm not doing right? I get the feeling somewhere you don't trust me enough. Is there something I need to do to build that trust? It's a question of how you approach it.
True. So in my initial days in an MNC, we used to listen a lot about perception. What people perceive is, what stays with them. As a boss, if somebody whom you perceived in a negative way came to you and confronted in a nice, positive way, what would be your reaction? Would you retain him in the team, or would you want to?
100%. I'm preaching this right now to everybody, saying, please do this. Okay, and to be a leader, you have to practice what you preach.
Even if you had a negative perception?
So perception is, like I said, we judge people without knowing people. And that's why I keep saying, reputation, good or bad, precedes you. I have been for client meetings whom I've never met the client, but for whatever reason, my reputation has preceded. So when I meet the client, his demeanor, his attitude, his or her way of speaking to me, and it's pre-decided. And if it's a bad reputation, it's the same thing. You will feel it when you meet the person. I think it's perceptions are, the fact is perception is also reality in many ways, but I think when you get an opportunity the reason of confronting or the reason is to get rid of that perception, to change that perception.
That means engage in the process
You
of
have to
knowledge.
engage. Engage is the only way forward.
That's lage raho, as they say. That's a wonderful note to end. I know Raj has to go for another meeting, and I have to ask for a big round of applause for Raj. And he also taught me, I was so eager to talk to Raj that I forgot to recognize Roshan Alexander, who didn't sleep last night to set this place up. And in his speech, I realized recognition is so important.
No, I must tell you this, okay? Day before yesterday, suddenly, I had a Twitter detox for almost 8 days. And day before yesterday, I decided, because somebody had challenged me, and I got a phone call saying, I've challenged you, you better respond. So I decided to go and do a Padman kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I saw his tweet. Sent you a WhatsApp message, please check on Twitter. And I was like,
Oh, I didn't know this.
yes.
It's an amazing.
Okay. So I went, saw, and then I called him up, and he said, our speaker's not going to be there, and can you
and
take
it's
it?
such a sport.
No, because I know how it is. I've been part of it. I know how difficult it is, and and a lot of people have, again, egos. I don't want to be that. Oh, they thought me as an afterthought. It's not a thing. How could they do that? So the first thing when he told me, I said, what time is it? Where is it? I said, okay, give me 1-2 hours. I'll get back to you, and I then rescheduled my meetings at that. I had no clue Viacom has sponsored this. So yesterday, my PR head, whom I didn't inform, as it is all communication, people get upset when you directly do something and don't keep them informed. Okay, so this was just happened middle of the night, and you're going for this event? You're ready to speak. So I said, what event? And then your tweeting that Raj Sheffield is going to speak, was sent to me on WhatsApp again. So I said, yeah, I'm going. So that's how it
But you know very well that if I slept well last night, it's because of him.
No.
And that impression will stay with me. That's why great leaders are what they are. Thank you so much, Raj. It's been wonderful having you with us, and ever so grateful. And I'm sure all the young people learned.
I listen to a speaker.
Yeah, oh, that's
Meeting is
wonderful.
downstairs.
Yeah,
Thank you
but you
so
have to
much.
shoot a short video so that you'll endorse us.
Thank you so much,
Rini,
Raj.
and-
Thank you, Madhavan. Please take your seats.